Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the Future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor podcast.
But enough of all that. Why don't we get into, we got a lot to get into this week, you know, so why don't we do what we do around here? It's that time to talk about The Bachelor on our show! Yes, but before we get talking about The Bachelor, YouTube, I'm going to need you to go ahead and subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new Bachelor content, just like this. And if you just did, oh man, what? Huge shout out to you. Woo-wee! Air horns for you. Oh man, YouTube, I just love you. Especially you if you just hit that subscribe button. But this is the point where, yeah, we got to shout out to our comment crew. You know, people that are leaving comments on these videos from last week. You get a comment in there. You get a shout out this week. So, of course, our Nancy Drew crew. We got Catherine Ann, Chelsea Allen, Kathleen Kent, and Marion SP. Marty,
full force.
Yeah, the full force. But where's Marty? I don't know where she's at this week. She gets a little late in the
Call
comments.
your mom up. Let her know.
I know she's busy with my nephew or something. But we got Beth Wenger in the building again, which she, you know, clarified her name, and I feel like I'm saying it like, you know, she gave me two ways not to say it, so stay away from those. I think we're doing good. So welcome back, Beth. That's awesome. Thank you for being in the comments. Crystal Baker's in the comments. You know what? Crystal Baker, what's up? And Linky Boy, like, you know, Mr. Boy's in the building. That's so cool. You know, I wonder.
I want to sing like that to the tune of Paperboy, like Linky Boy, like about that Linky Boy.
I really wonder, like, you know, where the origin of boy, what like area of the world it comes from in Linky. But Linky Boy, I'm just joking. I know that's probably not their real name, but Linky Boy, shout out to you. You know, I hope you guys stay in the comments section. Let other people know it's cool. It's a whole community down there. So, and then on top of that, you know, I just realized that on YouTube, you guys just really get, and which is fine. That's why we do it. We cut out the Bachelor portion of our podcast to put on YouTube. But I really want to encourage you guys, if you're like getting to know us and you're like, I could listen to more of these guys, go find us in our podcast, available everywhere. There's a full episode like around this Bachelor segment. This is just one part of our show. So if you haven't discovered us like on actual podcasts anywhere, you get to hear about what we did in the last week. You get to hear about other pop culture news after this. You get to hear about what we're watching, what we're listening to, and what we might be doing this coming weekend. So you just kind of stay involved with our lives, and and then we have more to talk about in the comments section. So yeah, enough of, I mean, I think we're pretty cool, right, V?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, at least you are. So, you know, I think we got good things going on over here. So shout out to everybody. Well, with that all out of the way, V, why don't we talk about week 9, Sex Week, Fantasy Suite Week? Where do we start with all this craziness? Because I got a lot of thoughts to get off my chest, you know?
So we're in Thailand. Looks gorgeous. They seem to be staying at this gorgeous resort. We start once again with some montages of the remaining ladies, kind of like going through where they're at in the journey. The main takeaway I got from this was that Gabby was really looking forward to using this week to talk about and express her feelings about how she is falling in love. And then I feel like both Kaity and Ariel's montages were pretty self-explanatory. Zach, we get some Zach time, and Zach goes and talks to, you know, his bestie, Jesse. Well, one of his besties, you know, his bro, Jesse, and gets into, you could tell he is so scarred from his fantasy suite experience, and this is like a common theme throughout each of his interactions this week, that he is going into this so calculated because, as we discussed last week, he's very much so by the book. He's trying to do everything right so that things could be done the best way possible. And even the way he's talking about, he's like, I can't wait to get down on one knee. Like, to me, that sounds like somebody who's looking to check a box. That's not like, I can't wait to, you know, find the love of my life. That's saying I can't wait to propose. But to who?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and like just like hearing it say it out loud, like he does call it sex week multiple times, so like it's not just one time, but
Yeah.
he's like shooting himself in the foot right off the bat.
Off the bat.
I mean, I don't know
Pow,
if I can
pow.
get to my thoughts like right now on the whole thing until we get to the end of this like episode, but to set expectations or not to set expectations is setting expectations. I feel like, kind of when you say it out loud and declare it like that.
By him declaring that he wants to take it off the table inherently makes it all about sex still. I think that's what
And all about him.
All about him, all about what his trauma. And we learned that he didn't even have sex with Rachel. So that I don't even think is a contributing factor. We still don't know what happened in this fantasy suite with him and Rachel that got him so in his head. But even Jesse is kind of like, are you sure you want to do this? And he says that, based on his talks, Zach says, based on his talks with Sean Lowe, this is what he wants to do. And I know Sean Lowe is kind of the purity culture vibe. So I wonder how much that had to do with Sean Lowe's advice. I don't think that's something Zach,
and I honestly think he just he kind of threw Sean Lowe under the bus there,
right.
like a cop out. Like he always has like an scapegoat for all his
He's
decisions.
like, well, based on Sean Lowe's formula, because I'm following a formula for this, like this is what we're gonna do. And so he says that Jesse's all like, we'll have to see. Like you can tell Jesse's like, good luck, brother. Like there's no way. Like, all right.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it could be said that this is becoming a thing where like if you have sex, you feel bad. Like you should just have sex with all of them or something. I don't know.
Or just do it if it feels right for the relationship.
Yeah,
I think
because the problem is like it just. I mean, I think she dodged a bullet with it with Ariel, but like as we'll get into, but just to like say it once and then do it, and then it's like now you're not gonna do it, like, and just bringing it all out. Oh man, it's such a mess. But let's just talk about it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. We get another long shower scene from him about the sex week, and I think that's ironic, but we get our first date, and it's with Ariel, the sex pot of this show, the sexy icon of the show, our queen, Ariel.
Yeah. I think she is one of the best. Like I honestly,
she's bar none. She's a fave of this show. Probably will go down as probably one of our fave contestants of all time. I would have to say.
There's no way. Like she is. I mean, if they, for whatever reason, they didn't pick her to be the Bachelorette, maybe they felt like her personality, maybe I don't know. I felt like her personality could carry a show, but she's very low key, like she's
a very deadpan. I could see also. Let's think about the fact she's Jewish. Middle America is mostly like their target audience is like Middle America Christian. So
yeah, so the charity pick was
easy,
a better choice, but regardless, if they can get her out on the beach, like she's the new hot
she's
commodity.
Gonna be the queen of the beach. She's gonna eat them up. But before we get to that, she obviously, obviously you all know we're fans of her. They go to the Thai market. They are eating. You could tell homeboy. They have to like have him eat bugs and stuff to calm him down because the entire time that they're on this date, they're just making out. They're talking about their like their chemistry, how like they just are on fire together. Like they definitely are feeling each other. And they go to dinner. She does tell him how she's falling in love with him, which in the beginning, they said that she did say it, but I guess technically she only said it to her family. So I don't know, because it seemed like it was the first time she said it based on his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, something he said that I thought was interesting was like, and I don't know if you've ever experienced it before, where like you're just like you didn't see it at first, like, but then it's like it's just so obvious when you realize like this person is like hot and like a huge like is it like a pick, like a great pick.
I think he always knew she was hot. I just think he never like really connected it to being like, wow, and she's interesting, and I could see a future with her, and all these things. I think he was always like, yeah, Ariel's hot and mysterious.
I mean, she's hot, but like I think she like blossomed a little bit like over the season. Like she kind of like I don't know if that was a tactic or not, but I feel like she didn't come out like guns a-blazing, like hot.
No.
Like, it was
She
just kind
kept
of
to
like
herself.
slow
She was
burn.
real. She was a real one, and I like that for her.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, they're they go to a night market. They're having the shows. Sparks are flying, literally quotes.
Literally.
And then they get to the point where she gets offered the fantasy suite, and Zach essentially breaks down his no sex rule, and every time it's just the beginning of like
it gets worse. Like, I feel like this first time he explained it probably the best, because he was like explaining why he really wanted it to come from, like, I want this to be a special moment, just because I don't want to take maybe what could be a special moment away from my future wife, and like, whatever. And I feel like he explains it the best this time around, because I feel like it just gets worse going along.
Yeah.
But I feel like, she was surprised.
Well, think about it though. Like, honestly, you wait all season to get to fantasy suites to just see what could happen, like when the cameras are not on you behind closed doors.
Right.
And what? I mean, in today's age, it's like, you kind of want to know you have those type of like the kind of chemistry with someone before like you are going to accept their proposal. Most people, like, I mean, to each their own, but I don't know, maybe. And it's not like he's doing it for like religious reasons or whatever. He just doesn't want the person he picks to have to to live with the fact that he had sex with somebody. Like,
but like, it's not like he wasn't fucking other people before getting on the show.
That's the whole thing.
We all have a past.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that like, this is where he could have just not said it at all. Like, why do you have, if you're not going to have sex, like, say that behind closed doors with someone. Be like, look, like, I really want to do this, but like, I just feel like it's going to complicate my decision making at the end of this, because it really does. Sex does change it a lot, as we'll see.
It does, like, literally chemically change things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I saw some real stuff by the end of this episode, like, happening because sex was introduced into this like scenario. So, I understood when
it was said that it wasn't going to be. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think, it could still, but I think making a rule and then whatever is what really, and saying it out loud and then making that a standard, I think is what really causes the most problems.
So weak. Oh man. Like, to go back on it, and also, like, I mean, how could you be so strong with Ariel? Like,
I don't know, because she definitely kind of made like some jokes about it. She's like, I respect whatever, but like, she made some jokes about it, I think, to like make him feel supported and stuff. She took it like a G, I would say, and like, honestly, like, gave him more than she should have given him in that situation. But she definitely, you could tell she wanted to, but she respected what he wanted to do, and they definitely got steamy, but
I mean,
didn't do the do.
This episode has to be one of the biggest, like, not like the way they edited it. Like, I didn't expect all this to go down the way
I didn't
it did.
expect it to be. I think we both thought it was going to be Ariel was going to be the one that he had sex with, and then Gabby was going to be the one that was upset with it.
She
for
was
that.
like number 3 on my list of people like that. Like, she was number 3rd. Like if it was going to be someone he was hooking up with this week, I thought it was Ariel.
Not Gabby.
I thought it was Kaity. Gabby was at the bottom of that list.
Gabby was at the bottom, but alas. But
so yeah, anyways, they wake up the next morning. She's making jokes about the positioning of how they're sleeping, and he has to clarify that it was sleeping positions, not sexual positions, because there were the multiple positions.
Because the cameras are on them again.
So we're getting a clear indication that they didn't do the hanky panky. So they honestly, I good for him for, at least making it through one round of that, but it's just getting started. So
it's just getting started.
Yeah.
So
I mean, during that though, you see a scene where Gabby is looking out her window and she sees them walking,
I know. I don't know if did she actually see them walking, or did they just edit it together to look like that was,
If they edited it good on them. But I think regardless, like those were the thoughts still going through her head.
Right.
You know, she's comparing herself to the other women. She's getting,
which she's been doing all this entire time. That's been her. She gets in her head about that kind of stuff a lot.
I can understand that. I could understand that.
Right.
But so we go into Gabby's day, and they're going to go on their own little private island and have a day.
They go on a private island. They go on the ship. They're having a great time. I feel like she starts this date with a lot of her personality, like talking about how like her, self-tanner might run, or like she's sweating and like whatever. They seem like they're having a good time. And then, they get onto the beach and they're chilling, and she starts, once again, this is like a downfall of Zach. She starts to get vulnerable about, how she was getting into her feelings the night prior, and is kind of just explaining her feelings, not blaming anything on him, just being like, this is that. This is how I was feeling. I was feeling a little like, I've had some experiences always being picked second, and I got into my head, like very much so taking the onus of being like, I was getting into my head last night about how I'm the second fantasy suite date, and like, second just really kind of triggered me, but like, blah, blah, blah. And so like, I just, just being vulnerable to be vulnerable. And of course, Zach is all like, well, it's not mind games. I'm not playing mind games with you. And I'm all like, bro, like, could you like just let her like,
I don't think he's playing mind games, but I do
think he isn't. I agree, but she wasn't saying that he was.
Yeah, but I do think that there is some like, consideration of like how he's picking things. Whether it's like the order of the roses or the order of... I've
heard from, I guess Ari responded to something on Bachelor Data that sometimes the way that the fantasy suites are aired are not the order that they actually are in. I guess for him they weren't, and I guess he didn't get to have any, pick of what order they went in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true for all bachelors, all leads, or what.
Well, I would have to trust that this was the order of...
the order that I think we saw them in is definitely the order that they happened, just based on what was said and everything and how that all went down. There's just no way you could really edit around that. I mean, you could, I guess, but it doesn't make any sense for them. There would be just so much work behind the scenes of like setting up situations between him and Jesse, but whatever. So no, I know the order of this has to be what it is, but I'm saying I don't know if he picked that order.
But, for her, though, she was picked first for hometowns. So she's picked second for this, like, Well,
and she was picked first, and then she was worried about that. Like, then she was having,
so there's no
that
winning
long
with
of
Gabby
time.
right now. Like, I don't know. I thought maybe this would be probably the best place for her, because she wasn't happy being picked first for hometowns. If she was picked last, she would probably go crazy or something like that because of having to wait like until to be the end. But anyways, he goes and confronts her and like consoles her, and they kind of get through it. So
yeah, she talks about how she had been cheated on and just kind of explained more of like her feelings, and just really once again reassured him that it didn't have anything to do with him specifically. It was just she was just trying to express her feelings about the situation at hand.
Right. So they go into their dinner portion of the date, like, right?
Yeah, and she ends up telling him at dinner how she's falling in love with him. He obviously is giddy to hear that, very excited. And, so like she's already laid her soul bare in multiple ways now. And then he's all like, thank you for all of this. And I'm not going to fuck. And he like kind of explains it in a worse way this time around, where he's all like, yeah, so, fantasy suites, this is usually when shit can hit the fan, which is all like, okay, shit hit the fan for you. Why are you bringing that negative connotation to this date when you don't even know what's going to happen with her? Like, why are you saying that? And then he was like, for that reason, we're not going to have sex. And
yeah, dude, like, you're right. Like, it's like, what made you think I was going to have sex with you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe, but like, what if I don't want to have sex with you? Like, you're not the one.
Or what if, and like Gabby kind of says to the degree of like, okay, well, I didn't really, she's like, I'm kind of like surprised to hear that, because I didn't really think I would potentially be getting engaged to somebody that I haven't had sex with, which I think that's real. Once again, this shows how he is not taking in consideration how there's somebody else at the end of this. Like, it's not just he's proposing to somebody and they're saying yes. Somebody else has to also be like, oh, yes, I agree. This is something I want to do as well, which I think that's where he gets into trouble with this whole rule, is because other people, yes, like sexual connection and stuff is very important to relationship building and or like commitment for a relationship. And thinking that everybody's going to be A-okay with you just taking something that might be an important factor for them off the table is just inconsiderate.
Yeah, totally. But so what happens?
So she kind of says like she's bummed, and they kind of like, she's like, but we'll see. I guess he'll have to just see my skincare routine, whatever, X, Y, and Z. And
I
then,
can tell she's like, they get like real hot and steamy and heavy, like, throughout the season. Like, so they start like she's like, wow, this is a big bed.
Plenty of room for activity. She seems a little drunk when they get back to their suite.
Yeah. It's probably both of them. And, yeah, so they start making out, and then we
see the light turn off.
Yeah, then we get cut to the next morning, and they're like, it doesn't seem like there's any indication.
It doesn't seem any different because they set up just same with Ariel in the morning. They do the thing where they show her the clothes, the bathing suits, or like whatever they have been wearing. They show like where they end up, and they did the same thing for them. So you can't think that you're like, well, they didn't fuck, so maybe they didn't fuck either, and they're just trying to, who's to say? But
then Zach has an emergency meeting with Jesse.
Jesse because he's like, I have a secret and I can't hold it in. And I'm like, bro.
Dude, this is so bad. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to like completely tear into Zach because I'm sure it's like a hard position. It's very easy to judge from our perspective.
I can understand if I want to, like, I can understand where he's potentially thinking ahead and being all like, well, what if would it be worse if like I had sex with all of them and then they found out? But I'm like, and we'll get to it with Kaity, but like it's not like everybody's like a little naive lamb. It's not like this is unknown that is a potential thing, but whatever. So
yeah,
he's all,
I mean, it's supposed to be like mistake number 1, saying that he wasn't going to have sex. Mistake number 2, not having sex with Ariel. Mistake number 3, and not because it was her, but like then having sex with somebody, which ended up being Gabby. So
right.
These are all things that could have been avoided. You could have had everything and still like, came out like looking like, fine. And this is where he's spiraling though. That was the mistakes, because this is what leads into his final mistake, I think. Because I think what's spinning in his head at this moment is not only did he have, well, there's two things. Not only did he have sex, which does change like the way you feel and about things and stuff like that, but he also essentially lied to Ariel. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, I'm not going to have sex with people. And he doesn't do it with her and doesn't give like even open that opportunity with her, and then goes and does it like the next day. So there's that. And now, what is he going to say? Not say that to Kaity? And because like, obviously it would be a lie to be like, I'm not going to have sex. If he says that, then it's just a full on lie. And, and then if he doesn't say it, it's just like, he completely just looks like a jerk that's out here just like. So
he should have never made this declaration. He could have saved himself so much trouble if he never made this rule, because the fact that he set these rules is where come on.
Yeah, he would have, and then, he's an idiot because Kaity ends up breaking it down on their date and stuff too. So
because he decided to, because he thinks that this is because he's so focused on what's the right thing to do. He then, after talking to Jesse, and even Jesse kind of was all like, it was right to do for your relationship. Like, you shouldn't feel bad about having sex. Like,
Jesse's like, a real wingman, bro. Like,
don't feel bad. Why do you feel bad? I told you not to make the rule, but like. But, whatever. And he's all like, I have to tell Gabby that I'm going to tell Kaity, and I have to tell Kaity. And Jesse's like, good luck. Like, literally, Jesse doesn't give him like any advice on any of that. He's just like, Okay. Do what you gotta do.
Godspeed.
And
Man.
Zach goes to Gabby, and like, of course, Gabby's all excited to see him because they just spent a great night together. And also, I'm sure she probably feels like he said he wasn't gonna fuck anybody, but guess what? He fucked me. Like, and so I'm sure she's feeling some kind of way. She sees him, he sits her down and is all like, just so you know, I have to go and tell our private moment that was off camera to one of the other women that I'm dating, who I think everybody inherently knows is the front runner. Like, there's no way that they don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, what's annoying is probably they discuss, like, dude, it'll just be between us. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be, like,
right,
anybody.
because it should be. Because it's off cameras. It's something that was part of their relationship.
But he's spiraling. He's panicking. He knows what he's already messed up, like, you know?
Yeah, and I get why he's panicking, because he's all like, well, I have to say, because, like, what if this comes out later? And, like, when they see, he's like, because I think he, in his mind, felt like it was better to tell Kaity, because I think he knew he wanted to end up with her. We don't know if he does, but I think if he thought in his head, well, if I end up with Kaity and she finds out later, I don't know if, like, how to deal with that. I think that's what he was worried about.
Do you think what if he had not said, do you think, how could he have gone into this last date and come out unscathed?
I think he could have. I mean,
there was no way he was going to be completely unscathed.
He could have been completely unscathed. I think he could have, instead of deciding to, I mean, obviously he could have gotten his stuff off his chest with Jesse, but then I don't think he needed to go to Gabby and say that he was going to go tell Kaity this. I don't think he needed to tell Kaity anything. I think he could have went into Katie's date, blank slate, just did whatever, and then sure, he ended up lying to Ariel then, and I guess lying to himself, but he ends up booting Ariel anyways, because I think part of the reason is because he realized that he lied to her and he's not good enough for her. So, you know.
Yeah, so there's two things that I think he could have done better than he did at this point. Like, you know, he's already done everything he's done.
He's already done it. Yeah, he already made the stupid ass rule.
Yeah, so he, and this is before we even get talking about what he actually did do, but
we're not even at Katie's date yet.
So number one is what you kind of said, is just being like a thing to the camera, or to Jesse, being like, look, I told Ariel that I wasn't gonna, and then I did it. You know, Jesse is saying, that's good, man. That's fine. Be like, you know, I'm just not going to put any more expectations on the rest of these fantasy suites. I kind of messed up, right? And that's something I have to deal with Ariel, you know.
Which he should have learned that from Ariel. Even Ariel in her date was all like, I don't put expectations or standards on our dates.
Right. So at the end of the day, he would have lied to Ariel, and just look like a weak person, like having sex the next day or whatever. And that just he would have looked stupid in that sense. That's one. Fine. Going into date with Kaity and then not saying anything about sex, and then maybe having sex with her too. And then the problem is gone. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And then he would, if he ends up with her in the end, obviously he'd be able to tell her,
he doesn't
whatever.
Have to tell her anything. He doesn't have to tell her anything.
If he has to, for like when it actually airs, like if he actually ends up with Kaity, I could see where then, you know, during that time before the show airs, where you would maybe want to have that be a discussion.
I would just say, like, I would be like, look, like, whatever happened in that fantasy, whether we did or we did not, were reasons why I ended up picking you, and we have this, like, you know, that's in the past now. That was, you know, maybe if this was like in real world or whatever like that, that might be the situation, but there's no reason. And she ends up saying that kind of like afterwards. But yeah, option number two over what he could have done is go, instead of going to, maybe after going to Gabby, going to see Kaity at the hotel, and before going on their date, talking to her about it. And then giving her like a night to, like, you know, think about it. And if she wants to show up the next day to do fantasy suites or whatever like that, give her the option to do that. Instead of ambushing her mid-date. Yes. Before they even get the card in her hand. Exactly. So let's get to her date. So let's just talk about the date. Let's talk about Katie's final date. So Katie's date,
you could tell a homeboy is so quiet for the beginning of this date because he's just waiting to drop the fucking bomb. But
I feel it. I feel like the tension and all that, like watching it. I'm like, all this dude is thinking about in his head right now. It's like
when to tell her.
Yeah, and she's all like, look, like, what do you see? And he's all like, I don't see anything.
Yeah, she's like,
Fish.
They're kayaking through the swamp. They're having a good time. They stop and like they're listening to a thunderstorm. And like, Katie's like, I've always wanted to do this. This is so fun. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And like, Zach pretty much is like, anyways, I'm happy you're having a great time. Let me ruin it for you because so I made this silly fucking rule.
Wait, and then he was like, you can look at me, because she's like looking down and stuff. Like she's not even making eye contact with him at this point because she knows something's about to get dropped.
And he's all like, so I made this silly fucking rule where I wasn't gonna have sex with anybody, but and
his
I
voice
feel like,
changes. Do you hear how his voice is different and stuff? Like he's gonna
his
cry.
voice went up like 3 octaves. Like he was all like, and he's like, so some things happened, and I was intimate with Gabby last night. Like,
well, he didn't say Gabby. He said I was intimate. Right? He didn't name drop.
I think he does say Gabby.
I don't think he did because it's something that happened at the end of the episode or whatever.
Oh, well, I thought he has to at least say Gabby at some point because how else would she know? I thought he did say Gabby.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think it was just like she just got it after, like, because I really don't think she'd want to know who it was. Like,
well, so he tells her, and he's like, and so like I had to tell you. He keeps being like, I had to tell you, I've only asked for honesty from you all during this, so I would only expect the same in return.
Yeah, did you have sex with anybody while you were on the show too? Like, just be honest right now. And she's like, dude, like, what are you talking about, man?
Katie is upset, and she's like, and he's all like, I'm sorry, like, take your, whatever, like, whatever. And she's all like, bro, like, I didn't need to hear that. I didn't need to, like, have that. She's like, I know what this week can happen, like, what can happen during this week. I'm not naive to that, but I didn't need, like, the point blank confirmation from you. Because, yeah, you're on these dates knowing in the back of your head that he has something with other people, and in this situation, could be having sex with other people, but you don't let that part get to the front that much because you're more focused on your date. But then he had the audacity to make it the focus of their fucking date.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was like, what did you expect me to say here? Like, it's like
did
whatever
you
you're saying is what I expected you to say.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Your conscience is like,
yeah.
Like, thanks for clearing that with me, pal. Like,
yeah, like what is she supposed to do? Like, like that's what she was asking. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't understand, because I can't obviously. Like,
she's like, am I supposed to comfort you, brother? Like, how am I supposed to be? Like, she keeps saying like, I feel really distant from you. Like, I don't know.
I mean, what are we supposed to continue this date? Like, it's just like a weird conversation. Like, what? All right. So, anyways, it's just like she's a real person. And also, she's probably just like really pissed. Like, it's like, damn, right. Man. Like, so they end up like kind of going their ways to get ready for dinner or something like that.
Yeah, he hopes she's going to come to dinner.
She's like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Yeah,
she's like talking to her producer and stuff, being like, pretty much saying what she was saying. She's like, why did he have to tell me that? Like, I didn't need to know that. Like, I'm not stupid about what could happen, but like, he didn't need to tell me that. He didn't need to, like,
yeah, I don't
how
know
am I supposed to know how to feel about
it? Is this a trend that Clayton started by like having to tell about being intimate with two people? Like,
I think the thing with Clayton is because Clayton told multiple people that he was in love with them. That's where Clayton messed up, is that he only told Susie that he was intimate with people because she asked him, where his feelings and stuff was with other people. And then when that all came to thing. And then when Gabby and Rachel were the only ones left, and they're like, where's Susie? And he had to be all like, so anyways, here's what happened, because he liked Susie the most. And so he had to tell them then. So that was when, I mean, that's...
So essentially, Zach was almost about to make the same exact thing that like happened with Clayton.
Well, because actually, yeah, something we forgot to mention is like, I feel like Zach, I hope he meant it, but I feel like it was sort of a cop-out that like to cap his hard conversation with Gabby before going on Katie's date, because you could tell she was pissed that he was about to air their dirty laundry, that he was all like, I am falling in love with you, so I had to tell you. And you could tell, to me, that felt a bit like, I want to believe it wasn't a cop-out. I want to believe it was his true feelings. But, like, the timing and how he said it just felt like a little like, here, let me put a Band-Aid on this while I go on a date with my other girl. I think he might
have felt that way. But what happens towards the rest of this night with Kaity ends up changing everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of like sometimes it's just like human nature to. So let's finish the date with Kaity. So she comes down and she takes it like a G, and she's like, look, like, I really like you. You know, let's put that behind us and stuff. And he's just so happy.
Yeah, and she forgives him real quick.
Yeah, she's a real one. Like, you know, like she's just like, you know, I get it. Like, I could sit here and be mad about it that you told me stuff that probably I assumed was going to happen anyway. So anyways, yeah, so essentially he's just like off the hook. And when that kind of happens to a man, like, I don't know if it's the same for women or whatever, but, you know, it's kind of like you literally got a second chance. So that shifts everything. That shifts everything that happened before this with Gabby. This shifts definitely stuff for Ariel. You know, you can't have, and then they go into fantasy suites and you don't know whether or not they had sex or not. Because, you know, they probably did, you know, or I don't know, didn't. I can't really assume.
I kind of feel like they, I mean, well, at the end, it seems like they didn't, but yeah. Yeah,
so at this point, if you have sex with Gabby, you can't just send her home, you know? So Ariel is just kind of like the default, like, choice at this point, you know?
Yeah, because she was, you know, yeah, I mean,
And she left like
she left with such poise, first of all of them looked beautiful at this rose ceremony. I will say I loved all of their dresses. They all looked great. They all, you know, all were coming there with different vibes. And I thought, you know, Ariel, I knew he was going to send Ariel home because, honestly, partially probably because he feels guilty. And because, yeah, he can't say that he's falling in love with Gabby and then send her ass home. So...
I mean, keeping Ariel would just open up a whole nother box of problems. Like,
oh yeah, it would have been bad. And then, but you know, he gives Kaity the first rose, and the smirk she has on her face when she gets that first rose, you can tell she knows she's his number one. Like,
yeah, I said that last week, like when she got picked second. And honestly, this is just kind of a slap in the face for Gabby, because she just told you that you picked me. I'm like, that's my biggest thing. Is
literally, she was the one who kind of gets screwed literally the most in this episode because
oh my God.
She gets screwed the most in this episode because not only does she like lay her feelings out on the line, she then has to have her private moment with him publicized and like to clear his conscience, but then, you know, with no regard to her. And then she gets the rose second, and then his ass is staring directly at Kaity when he comes back after walking Ariel out. Like, it's like she's not even fucking there.
Yeah, I felt bad for Gabby. Like, all the things he was doing to try to save, you know, face with all the rest of the women kind of like is not working for Gabby, you know? And
no, because he doesn't seem to care about saving face with her. Because if he cared about saving face with her, then he wouldn't have gone and been like, told her. I mean, the most he did was tell her that he was going to tell her business to somebody else. And that even like that,
and do you think anything plays into it? Like, you know, sometimes when you you do have sex with someone and then you just kind of like already did that, like the magic's kind of gone.
Well, that sounds like post-nut clarity, which is such a man thing. That is such a man
Women
thing.
don't go through that?
I don't think we go through it as much. I think you guys have it like way more severely. I think for women, like in my case, I guess, I've never like felt like that intense situation, like where it's like, oh, never mind, I'm not interested at all. I might be interested maybe a tad less, or maybe I was only going after somebody for a specific thing in mind. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he felt like, you know, it was a moment. I could see him twisting it in his head, also being like, oh, maybe it was just a moment of weakness, like, you know, and whatever. But I don't know. It doesn't look great. Ariel looked great. She pretty much, and she didn't even let him like touch her leg and shit. She pretty much was all like, you know, thanks for making this so easy for me to be like vulnerable and like feel.
I mean, she was like rubbing his head and stuff. Like she really liked him. Like,
yeah, she liked him a lot, and like you could tell she was hurt, like in her little ride out. Like she was hurt because she definitely hasn't let her walls down to anybody in a long time, and hasn't felt that way for anybody in a long time. But you could tell that she's like, I hope I could feel that way. But she was like thankful for her experience with him, because I think it did like help her emotionally grow in her own ways. And she was like, deuces, have a good time, like whatever, like like she's like, this sucks, but I'm better for it.
yeah, I really wonder, like now I really don't know how this season's going to end. Like it could really be anything. At this point, I don't think Gabby's going to get picked, but Kaity gets picked. Then it could turn into a situation where he ends up going for Ariel. Like how many times have we seen this now where it's like you're left with two people and the third, like it's just like this week just somehow like crumbles like one of your strongest relationships, and you're just like making decisions at the last second, you know, that are probably not like what you really want. Because like, I bet you anything, like he really wanted to keep Ariel there, and it just wasn't in the cards for him to look, you know, the best if he picked her. And also like, it just like, he just ruined his chance of getting intimate with her and stuff, and like kind of cut her off from that, even having that opportunity, and then having to explain that to her, you know, it's just a whole nother thing. So yikes, man. Zach didn't come off great this episode to like go to do all this work, like to try to like do it by the book, and then to like fall apart right here. It's just, you're just not any different than any of them, the bachelors that came before.
For real. And you could tell he really thought he was doing something special. He really thought he had something going.
He thought he was doing
fucked
something.
It up.
He really thought he was doing something.
He had us in the first half. He did. Or the first third, I guess.
Man. Well, he gave us a good title for this week. So, I mean, yeah. And then the show ends with a post-credit scene of Kaity getting chased by monkeys, which I thought was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, like the two girls walked like normally, and then like she's just walking normal. I'm like, where's this going? And then the monkey.
I know. I'm like, what is going to happen? And then it's the monkey.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I really wonder how it's going to go the rest of the season.
I have to give it up for the editors for this, because they really threw us off the scent of what was actually going to go down this week. So kudos to them, because we've gotten pretty good at guessing, and they fucking had us fooled.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be Ariel that he hooked up with.
Because why wouldn't it be?
I wonder how she feels about that. She's like, nope, I'm the good one.
She's all like,
I'm pure.
She's like, he's not good enough for this pussy, baby.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's our episode this week. I'm excited about seeing what we got. One more episode left.
Yeah. It didn't seem like they were going to do like any sort of, you know, extended version or anything. I think it's just maybe they still have After the Final Rose. I don't know. So maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I don't know.
Like we said, though, usually they do After the Final Rose with like the final episode.
Yeah, usually. So
maybe it's a 2-night event. They didn't say that, right?
They didn't say that, though.
Huh. Interesting. Well, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
Anything else going on in Bachelor Nation?
Yes. So Bachelor in Paradise Canada is going to be kicking off, and there's some American additions to the cast that we know. Some of them we don't. They include Connor, the cat, Brennan, who was from Katie Thurston's season, and also, Bachelor in Paradise US recently. And then
I think he'll have some luck on a different version of that show. I don't know. I just feel like I think he'll have better luck with like non-Americans.
Yeah, maybe, because then we've got Chelsea Vaughn, who is one of the NYC based girlies. I find this surprising that she's going on a Bachelor in Paradise again, but in Canada. Maybe she's trying to find herself like a lumbersexual kind of man in Canada. Who's to say?
Yeah, those were like the only two I really recognized.
And then those were the only two, because then there's like a couple more from Katie's season, including Courtney, who spells it like quart, like the measurement, and Austin Tinsley. And then also from Michelle's season, we've got Edward Norano and Garrett, which we know how we feel about Garrett's in these seasons. And then we have from Clayton's season, we have Rihanna and Tessa, which I don't know who. I guess they both were maybe like
night one
going away people. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, interesting to see if what comes of that for, I guess, Connor and Chelsea, just because I could see Connor doing well maybe in this. Chelsea, I kind of don't get the reason for her to be there, but whatever.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yes, we have a bit of a leak of Charity's contestants, and looks like right now there's been only 29 that we've seen. Could be all of these guys, could be maybe not all of them, and maybe more. Who's to say? They look pretty hot. So a lot of them look hot. We're getting a decent range in ages. I think Charity's like 27 or something. Yes, 27. So I'm seeing like 29, 33, 33, 35, 24.
I mean, I don't really like even talking about them until like the season starts showing.
Some of them look real weird, so we'll have to see. Some of them look real hot though. Good for her.
Well, what did you guys think of this week's episode of The Bachelor? Did you think what decisions do you think Zach went wrong? What could he have done right? What do you think? Do you think Ariel kind of got the short end of the stick, or no stick at all?
No stick at all.
What would you have done if you were Kaity or Gabby? Like, I really kind of want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Because I think it's very interesting to see how this all breaks down with these fantasy suites, or sex week, as Zach likes to has coined it. But yeah, I mean, let us know what you think. Also, how do you guys feel about? Let us know in the comments how you guys feel about Kaity, the way she says sorry.
Yeah, I guess she's from Canada.
What?
I looked up her Instagram bio because I was like, why have I never heard this accent before? I'm like, is she really from Minnesota or something? And then I looked up her bio, and she's in Austin by the way of Ontario. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that kind of makes a lot of sense for her things that throughout the season that I was seeing that were like, huh, interesting. But
yeah, I really didn't hear her accent until now, and I was like, oh, well, maybe because sometimes some North Midwestern accents can sound a little Canadian, so I've heard many Minnesotan and Wisconsin accents that sound more like that too. So sometimes I feel like I'm a little immune to it, but yeah.
Well, yeah, just let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. We definitely want to interact with you guys doing that. And just another reminder that there's a whole nother show. We're going into another segment of our show right after this. You're just seeing this one segment. So if you're interested in that, go check out our podcast, Future Bachelor Podcast, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, those are your main ones. But yeah, give us a listen. Give us a, what do they call it there? A subscribe there too?
Yeah, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. leave us a good review.
Add it to your library. I think that's technically like, I guess you subscribe on Spotify too.
And the
but
cool thing about it is like, on the off season, we also do talk about Bachelor Nation news, but you can just get a bunch of us, even when the show's not on.
Stay with us wherever you find us.
Yes.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We're like Big Brother.
Yeah.
But Big Bachelor.
So we'll see you guys next week for hopefully what is the finale of The Bachelor. So all right. Well,
Future Bachelor Podcast.